Hi everyone, this is For the Love of Comics and a very warm welcome to the last episode for the month of April, which means it's time for another recent reads and new acquisitions. This is a video that I do at the end of every month recapping recent reads and new acquisitions, and you can find all previous episodes in this playlist linked above. The recent reads for this month have been the acquisitions from previous months. I've been catching up really, but people who watched our last video, the unboxing, know that I'd built up quite a pile of packages waiting for some new bookshelves. The bookshelves arrived and the packages have finally been opened. So in this episode, I'm going to quickly go over what was in those packages, which is going to make up a fair amount of my reading in the upcoming weeks. As always, I'd love to know what you've been reading and what you plan on reading in upcoming weeks. And of course, leave all suggestions for me in the comments below. I may not be able to get to everything, but there are a number of acquisitions, including a couple of these that come from viewer comments. So without further ado, let's dive into the new acquisitions for the month of April 2019. My most recent acquisition just arrived a couple of days ago is actually not a very new book. It's the trade paperback volume 1 for Bitch Planet, written by Sue DeConick and with art by Valentine Delandro. I've heard very good things about Bitch Planet. It's apparently a science fiction tale about a prison planet where badly behaved women are sent, and is apparently extremely satirical and unique. Someone on a Facebook group pointed out that this was on deep discount, and I thought it was a good chance to try something that I'd heard a lot about but never had picked up. The idea of it sounds great, the art looks excellent, and I'm excited about trying it out. Also not a new book, although I wasn't aware that this had been published, is It Don't Come Easy by Dupuy and Berberian. Viewers of my shelf videos may remember Dupuy and Berberian's Get a Life from Shelf 3, as well as the companion piece Maybe Later, both from Drawn and Quarterly, as well as the singles theory from Humanoids, which is right back there somewhere, and I thought that was all the Monsieur Jean stories there were, in English anyway. Get a Life is the English translation of the first 3 French albums, and I was glad to see this from Drawn and Quarterly, which is albums 4 through 7 in English. I do wish that it was in hardcover like the other 2 volumes from Drawn and Quarterly, but I'm very happy to have all 7 of the color albums, as well as the singles theory, which was a black and white edition. They're wonderful stories about a young single bohemian life maturing into adulthood over the years, and I'm excited to see where Monsieur Jean goes in these stories. A much newer book is Off Season by James Sturm. I talked about this in my What I'm Looking Forward to in 2019 video. It was released, it became available over here, and I was able to grab it. I'm very excited about this new book by James Sturm. I've really enjoyed every single thing I've read, and the additional bonus is this landscape-sized 2 panels a page format. Just a very good looking volume. Based on a recommendation of a friend who knows I'm a fan of Kyle Baker's, is Birth of a Nation, a comic novel written by Aaron McGruder and Reginald Hudlin and illustrated by Kyle Baker. I don't know very much about this other than it's a satire of modern America and written by Aaron McGruder, who's famous as the creator of The Boondocks, which I haven't unfortunately read. But this came highly recommended. I am a fan of Kyle Baker, who I find to be a very versatile and interesting artist, and in order to familiarize myself with Aaron McGruder, I also picked up the first volume of the print edition of the Boondocks collections. I've seen that the other volumes are available, so if I enjoy this, I'll be picking those up as well. Some of you know that I'm trying to read more manga. Over the last couple of years, I've introduced myself to a number of new artists solely on the basis of recommendations online, and many of you over here have given me a lot of suggestions. One of the names that came up was Jiro Taniguchi, whose Distant Neighborhood I remember reading a couple of years ago and being absolutely mesmerized by. That was a haunting book that I remembered when someone mentioned him, so I went looking for some other works of his. Summit of the Gods is a great series that I've heard a lot of good things about for many years, so I figured this was a good time to get this, as well as A Zoo in Winter and Guardians of the Louvre. Guardians of the Louvre is by NVM and seems to be published in the Japanese format going from right to left, but A Zoo in Winter seems to have been changed to the Western style, I think the same way A Distant Neighborhood was, if I'm not mistaken. In my What I Enjoyed Reading in 2018 videos, I talked a little bit about going on a sort of bender on a particular creator, and I think this year Taniguchi is one of them. Another Japanese comic manga that I picked up on the basis of recommendations is Sunny Volume 1 by Taiyo Matsumoto. I read a glowing review of this series. I went online and did some reading up on it, and it sounded really interesting, so I decided to take a chance on Volume 1. Of course, I haven't read it yet, but it makes a very good first impression in this wonderfully produced small little hardcover with just a beautiful illustration. I've seen what the other volumes look like, and they all look equally gorgeous. So if I was going to judge a book by its cover, this one's already at 5 stars. A discussion with a friend led to me picking up An Olympic Dream and Castro, both by Reinhard Kleist. Reinhard Kleist is an artist and writer who deals mainly in biographical stories. His biography of Johnny Cash, I See a Darkness, is widely acknowledged quite rightfully as a masterpiece, and I was also excited to pick up his Nick Cave biography last year. This is from a couple of years ago, the story of Samia Yusuf Omar, a Somalian Olympic athlete who became a refugee into Europe. I had no idea about her story until I read the blurb for this book, which makes it the only Reinhard Kleist biography about a person I don't have any idea about. Castro is a little older. I think it's from 2011, but I've never been able to get my hands on a copy for some reason until right now. It showed up when I was picking up An Olympic Dream, so here it is. Just like with manga, I am trying to read more independent Indian comics, and I picked up Delhi Calm used from someone selling it on Facebook. I don't know much about this other than it's about a musical band during the national emergency of the 1970s in India, but it sounds ambitious and interesting, and I'm going to give it a shot. And finally, the same friend who sold me Delhi Calm online also sold me a stack of old Whitman and Gold Key comics. So I've got some Woody Woodpecker, Daisy and Donald, Mickey Mouse. These are all reading condition copies. Super Goof, which not a lot of people have heard of, but I remember fondly from my childhood. The Junior Woodchucks, Daffy Duck, and finally, Uncle Scrooge 174 and 175, which I did not own. Uncle Scrooge is my weakness. I have a stack of old Uncle Scrooges in various conditions, and it's very difficult and rare to get single issues in India. So I was really happy that they came along and I was able to snag them. I think I'm going to start reading with Off-Season, then maybe the Monsieur Jean, go on to An Olympic Dream, and then Guardians of the Louvre. That's what I've mapped out so far, but the best laid plans. I hope you enjoyed this quick catch-up. Leave me a like to let me know. Thank you as always for watching. This has been For the Love of Comics, and I'll see you at the next video.